The problem is, dun dun dun, there is a villain. And this villain is your brain's overreaction to everyday events like rushing somewhere, taking a test, having a lot of to-dos. All of these things fall into the category of universal threats that the survival brain identifies as something that it needs to mount a stress response for. So in those moments, when we start to release excessive stress hormones instinctively, just like you call on AAA roadside assistance, we're going to call on the AAA formula so that you can consistently turn any sort of bad stress to good stress in these situations and stay a clear-minded problem solver. The AAA formula works like this. The first A is awareness. Anytime you feel any negative emotion, this is sneaky stress in disguise. Irritation, anger, sadness, frustration, be on alert. Anytime you feel a hint of any of these, this is the stress hormones starting to alert your body that you have an excess of stress and it prepares you for action. Once you become aware, the next step in the formula is to anchor yourself. Just like an anchor keeps a boat steady in the midst of a wavy ocean, similarly, you need to anchor yourself so that you buy yourself time so you can go to the next A in the formula. So an anchor, for example, would be taking your thumb and your forefinger and holding it together. An anchor would be if you're in an argument, stepping away from that argument and getting space. But the bottom line is these are physical things that you do to hold yourself steady. Finally, once you have awareness and you've anchored yourself, then you take action. Action with respect to changing the way you move or changing the way you think to release a happiness hormone. And we have what's called the to-dos list. Do's is spelled differently, D-O-E-S, to represent each of the happiness hormones: dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, serotonin. Things like expressing gratitude, you've changed the way you think. Doing an act of kindness, you've changed the way you move and you've changed the way you think. You can, for example, take a moment and be mindful, do a mindfulness meditation. You can do a power pose made famous by Harvard's Amy Cuddy, where you make yourself very big. You hold your hands in the shape of a pyramid. You hold your arms up in the shape of a V for 2 minutes. All of these things change your hormonal chemistry. And if you do that while saying something that you're grateful for, you've doubled the power of changing the way you move and changing the way you think. We will talk about the to-dos list extensively. For now, know that when you release a happiness hormone, it turns on the prefrontal cortex, which allows you to process stress differently and to access your willpower. This is the key to staying a clear-minded problem solver. One of the easiest ways to change the way that you think is to simply relabel what you're feeling as a positive. For example, you're feeling any negative emotion, you're going to recognize that stress and you're going to say, okay, this is a performance enhancer. It's priming my body for action. You've just changed the way that you think about stress. If you do that and at the same time go for a quick walk, you've doubled the power because you've changed the way that you're thinking about stress and you're making a physical change in your body, which will further help you bounce back from too much excessive stress, and you'll get to that sweet spot where you have the perfect amount of stress that allows you to enter the high performance state of flow. So we have awareness, becoming aware of any negative emotion, anchoring yourself, simply putting your finger and your thumb together, and then taking action, changing the way you move or changing the way you think with respect to a happiness hormone. We'll talk about this more, but this is the foundation to get you started so that you can consistently defeat the villain and turn bad stress to good stress.